The courtroom went silent when the number was spoken. 20 billion. Gasps rippled through the packed hall like a sudden wind across dry grass. Reporters froze with their cameras half raised. Lawyers stopped whispering. Even the armed guards at the doors shifted uneasily, unsure if they had heard right. At the center of it all stood a woman in a simple dark dress, her posture calm, her face steady. Her name was Amara Johnson, tech investor, philanthropist, and one of the youngest women to ever appear on Africa's richest lists. She did not flinch as every eye locked onto her. Across the room, behind iron bars that smelled of rust and despair, stood Malik Carter. He had been sentenced that morning. Life imprisonment. Wrongful charges, a rushed trial, powerful enemies who needed a scapegoat. Malik's wrists were cuffed. His shirt still carried the dust of the prison van. His eyes, once full of fire and laughter, now carried the dull weight of betrayal. He wasn't looking at the judge. He wasn't looking at the lawyers. He was looking at Amara. Because he knew her. And because he did not understand why she was here. The judge leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. "Miss Johnson," he said carefully, "are you aware that this sum exceeds the bond ever paid in this country's legal history?" Amara nodded once. "I am aware," she replied, her voice steady but loud enough to reach the last row. A murmur spread again. The prosecutor laughed nervously. "This is highly irregular. The accused is facing multiple charges tied to international sabotage. Money cannot." "I am not paying for his innocence," Amara interrupted. That single sentence hit harder than the number. She turned then, finally facing Malik fully. For a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them. "I am paying for his freedom," she said, "so that I can ask him one question." Her hand reached into her purse. Metal glinted under the courtroom lights. A ring. Malik's breath caught. His knees almost gave way. The judge slammed the gavel. "Order, order in the court." But it was too late. The moment had already broken free of control. Cameras flashed wildly. Social media feeds across Lagos, Atlanta, Accra, and New York began to explode in real time. A billionaire woman had just offered 20 billion for a condemned man's freedom. Just to propose to him. Amara stepped closer to the bars, ignoring the chaos around her. Her voice softened now, meant only for Malik. "They took everything from you," she said. "Your name, your future, your voice. I couldn't give you justice today, but I can give you tomorrow." She swallowed once. "And if tomorrow is still too heavy, I will carry it with you, as your wife." Malik stared at her like she was a mirage born from exhaustion. His lips parted, but no sound came out. The judge's gavel struck again. Court is adjourned until the bond verification is completed. Guards rushed forward, lawyers argued, the crowd erupted. As Malik was pulled away, his eyes never left Amara. Because the last time he had seen her, she had been just another stranger on a rainy night. And that was where this story truly began. Years earlier, before the headlines, before the money, before the prison walls, Malik Carter was just a systems engineer with oil-stained hands and stubborn hope. He grew up between Detroit and Port Harcourt, raised by a mother who believed hard work could still save the world. Malik believed it too. He fixed things most people gave up on: old machines, broken code, forgotten power grids. He believed if you studied something long enough, it would tell you the truth. That belief was what got him in trouble. On a stormy evening in Atlanta, Malik stopped to help a woman whose car had stalled under a bridge. Rain poured like judgment from the sky. The woman wore a hoodie, her face half hidden, her phone dead. Malik didn't know she was Amara Johnson. He only knew she looked tired and scared. He fixed the car in 15 minutes, refused money, joked about bad luck and worse weather. When she asked for his name, he gave it freely. When she asked for his number, he hesitated. That hesitation would later save his life. They spoke only once more after that night, briefly, over coffee. Malik talked about energy systems, about corruption. about how certain corporations were sabotaging public infrastructure to force privatization. Amara listened more than she spoke. She never told him who she was. 2 weeks later, Malik was arrested. The charges were heavy and confusing: cyberterrorism, infrastructure sabotage, international conspiracy. His research notes, once ignored, were suddenly labeled classified evidence. The companies he had criticized became victims. His name became poison. And the woman he helped under the bridge vanished. Until now. As the courtroom doors slammed shut behind him, Malik's mind raced. Why would she do this? Why now? And what terrible price always followed a miracle this big? Outside, Amara stood alone, reporters shouting questions she did not answer. Her security team urged her toward the exit. She paused, because she knew something no one else in that courtroom knew yet. Paying $20 billion was only the beginning. And if the truth came out, someone would die trying to stop it. The cameras zoomed in as she stepped into the waiting car. And far away, in a room where powerful men watched the broadcast in silence, one voice finally spoke. "Prepare the contingency," the man said. "If Malik Carter walks free, this country burns." The car door closed. The engine started. And the countdown began. The prison gates groaned open just after sunrise. Chains clinked. Papers were stamped. Phones buzzed nonstop as news spread faster than the guards could shout for silence. Malik Carter stepped out slowly, blinking as daylight hit his eyes for the first time in months. Freedom felt unreal, like a borrowed coat that might be snatched back at any moment. Outside the gates, black SUVs waited in a neat line. Security men in dark suits scanned the area with sharp eyes. Reporters were already gathering behind barricades, calling his name, shoving microphones forward. But Malik saw only one person. Amara Johnson stood beside the lead car, calm as still water. No jewelry except a simple watch. No smile, just steady eyes that told him this was not a dream. He stopped a few steps away from her. "Why?" Malik asked quietly. Amara didn't answer immediately. She gestured toward the open car door. "Get in first," she said. "There are too many ears out here." The door closed behind them, sealing out the noise of the world. The car pulled away smoothly, police escort leading the way. Malik leaned back, rubbing his wrists where the cuffs had been. "They said you paid $20 billion, he said. "That number doesn't even sound real." "It is real," Amara replied, "and it's already gone." He laughed once, bitter and disbelieving. "I don't understand you. I don't even know you." Amara turned to him then. "You helped me when you didn't have to," she said. "You told the truth when lying would have kept you safe, and you were punished for it." She took a breath. "I've been watching your case since the day you were arrested." Malik stiffened. "Watching how?" "I own the company that first flagged the energy grid irregularities you discovered," she said. "Your work threatened some very powerful contracts. When they couldn't buy your silence, they buried you." The city blurred past the tinted windows. Malik's hands clenched. "You could have helped earlier." "I tried," Amara said softly. "Quietly, but every door I pushed opened into another wall. The deeper I went, the clearer it became this wasn't just about you. It was about control." She met his eyes, and control only understands force. They arrived at a private estate on the edge of the city, high walls wrapped in green vines, guards stationed like statues. Inside, the air smelled of fresh wood and citrus. Malik felt out of place, like a shadow that had wandered into the wrong world. Amara led him into a wide living room and finally sat. "This place is secure," she said. "For now." "For now," Malik repeated. "That sounds like a warning." "It is," Amara admitted. "Your release embarrassed people who don't accept embarrassment. They will come for you again, or for me." Malik stood, packing. "Then why tie yourself to me? Why make it public? Why the proposal?" Amara reached into her bag, pulled out the ring again, and placed it on the table between them. "I didn't do it for drama," she said. I did it because marriage gives us legal access to each other's assets, protections, and movements. It complicates their plans. Malik stopped packing. So this is strategy. It started that way, Amara said honestly. But strategies don't usually cost 20 billion or risk everything. Silence stretched. Do you love me? Malik asked suddenly. Amara's breath caught just slightly. I don't know yet, she said, but I respect you, I trust you, and I believe the world needs you alive. She looked down at her hands. And I know that standing beside you feels right. Before Malik could respond, alarms chimed softly throughout the house. Security voices crackled over speakers. Ma'am, we have movement. Screens lit up along the wall, showing vehicles approaching the outer gate. Too many, too organized. Amara stood instantly. They're faster than I expected. Malik's heart pounded. Who are they? People who don't want you telling your story, she said. And people who don't want the public asking why a billionaire would spend 20 billion on one man. A loud bang echoed as the first gate was struck. Amara grabbed Malik's hand. Decision time, she said. If you walk away now, I'll get you out alone. New identity, quiet life. And if I stay? Malik asked. Then this becomes war, Amara said. Public, relentless, dangerous. Another crash shook the walls. Malik looked at the ring on the table, then at the woman who had shattered a system to save him. I already lost my quiet life, he said. Sirens wailed closer. Amara nodded once. Then we don't run. She slipped the ring back into her bag as armed guards took positions around the house. Outside, the gates began to fall, and the first shot rang out. If this story already has you hooked, now is a great moment to support the channel by liking the video and subscribing, so you don't miss the next chapter of this unfolding drama. Also, tell us in the comments where you're watching from right now. Is it Lagos, Atlanta, London, or somewhere else? And one question to think about. If you were Malik, would you trust Amara's proposal, knowing the danger it brings, or would you choose to disappear and save yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to share this story with someone who loves suspense-filled tailies. Gunfire cracked through the early morning air, sharp and sudden, shattering the illusion of safety the estate had promised. Birds scattered from the trees as armed men in unmarked uniforms poured through the broken outer gate. Their movements were precise, rehearsed. This was no robbery. This was retrieval. Inside the house, Amara's security team moved fast. Doors slid shut. Steel barriers rose from the floors. Malik was pulled down a corridor that smelled of polish and ozone, his heart hammering louder than the alarms. Stay close, one of the guards ordered. Amara walked ahead, calm but alert, her heels clicking with purpose. She had planned for many outcomes, but not this speed. Someone had leaked information. Someone always did. They reached a hidden elevator disguised behind a wall panel. As the doors slid open, a blast rocked the building. The lights flickered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Malik staggered. They're trying to kill us, not arrest us. Yes, Amara said, stepping into the elevator. Which means they're scared. The elevator descended into darkness, deeper than Malik expected. When the doors opened again, they stepped into a bunker carved into bedrock. Screens lined the walls, each showing live feeds from the estate above. Smoke curled from shattered windows. Security forces exchanged fire with the attackers. Malik stared. All this because of me. Because of what you know, Amara corrected, and because of what you could prove. She moved to a console and brought up files. Names, dates, contracts, hidden payments layered like poison beneath the surface of public projects. These are the men who framed you, she said. Energy executives, politicians, private security firms operating under government cover. Malik's jaw tightened as he scanned the screen. I suspected corruption. I didn't know it went this far. Very few do, Amara replied. That's why they survive. A sudden explosion shook the bunker. One of the feeds went black. They're breaching the lower levels, a voice said over the intercom. We have minutes. Amara turned to Malik. There's a secondary exit. It leads to a safe corridor that connects to the old railway tunnels. You'll take it. What about you? Malik asked. I stay, she said. If they don't find me, they'll hunt the city. If they do, they'll think they've won. Malik shook his head. You paid $20 billion to free me. I'm not leaving you behind. Amara's eyes softened just for a second. This is not heroism. This is survival. Before Malik could argue again, the bunker door burst inward. Smoke flooded the room. Shapes moved through it, dark, fast, merciless. Security fired back, the air filled with noise and confusion. Amara grabbed Malik's hand and ran. They plunged into a narrow tunnel lit by emergency strips along the floor. The ground vibrated as explosions followed behind them. Somewhere above, the estate that had promised safety was being torn apart piece by piece. The tunnel opened into a long-abandoned railway station, rusted tracks stretching into darkness. A single train car waited, engine humming low. Get in, Amara said. As the train lurched forward, Malik finally found his voice. If this is war, tell me what side I'm on. Amara met his gaze, the city's buried veins rushing past them. You're on the side of truth, she said, and that makes you the most dangerous man in the room. The train vanished into the tunnel. Behind them, the fire spread. And above ground, the world began to realize that the story of 20 billion was only the surface of something far more explosive. The train slowed deep inside the tunnel, its engine humming like a cautious animal. Rusted lights flickered on, revealing a forgotten underground station where time seemed to have stopped decades ago. Water dripped steadily from cracked ceilings. Old posters clung to the walls, their messages long faded. Amara was the first to step down. She scanned the space, every sense alert. Malik followed, his body tense, his mind racing. This place was abandoned after the transit collapse, Amara said quietly. No cameras, no signal, it buys us time. How much time? Malik asked. Amara did not answer immediately. She walked to a metal bench and pressed a hidden switch beneath it. A panel slid open, revealing a compact control room filled with monitors and old but functional equipment. Enough, she said finally, if we move smart. Malik looked around, absorbing the reality of his new life. Less than 24 hours ago, he had been a prisoner waiting to be erased. Now he was standing beside one of the most powerful women on the continent, hiding from forces that wanted him silenced forever. You said I'm dangerous because of the truth, he said. Then stop protecting me from it. Tell me everything. Amara studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. She pulled up a projection on the main screen. Maps appeared, energy grids, supply routes, offshore accounts linked by thin red lines. Your research uncovered a pattern, she began. Rolling blackouts, system failures, inflated repair contracts. You thought it was corporate greed. It was worse. She zoomed in on a cluster of names. These companies manufacture crisis. They sabotage public infrastructure, then sell the solution back at triple the price. Governments stay quiet because they are paid to. Malik's chest tightened, and the people. Pay with their lives, Amara said. Hospitals go dark, water systems fail, riots follow, and the same companies are paid again to restore order. Malik slammed his fist against the table. That's why they framed me. I was getting close. Yes, Amara said, and because you refused to sell your findings. She changed the screen again. This time, Malik saw his own face in a government report, stamped with words like threat and extremist. They needed a villain, Amara continued. Someone smart enough to blame, someone without protection. Silence fell heavy between them. Finally, Malik spoke. So the proposal, the marriage, that was also protection. Amara met his eyes. Marriage gives you access to my legal shield. It makes you harder to disappear. And you, Malik asked, what do you gain? Amara hesitated. Leverage, she said, and an ally who still believes the truth matters. Before Malik could respond, one of the monitors flickered. A new feed appeared, news footage from above ground. The headline blazed across the screen. Billionaire, Amara Johnson missing after deadly estate attack. Malik's breath caught. They're already rewriting the story. They always do, Amara said calmly. But that also means they think I'm either dead or running. The screen switched again. Another headline followed. Former inmate, Malik Carter still at large. International alert issued. Malik stepped back. They're hunting me again. Yes, Amara said, but this time we hunt back. She reached into a secure case and pulled out a slim data drive. This contains everything, she said. Proof, names, transactions, enough to burn the entire network. Malik stared at it. Then why not release it now? Because truth without protection gets buried, Amara replied. We need timing and witnesses. A distant rumble echoed through the tunnels. Malik stiffened. That wasn't the train. Amara's eyes narrowed. She moved to the controls, fingers flying across keys. Her face hardened. They followed us, she said. Not here exactly, but close enough. The lights flickered again. Footsteps echoed faintly from far down the tunnel. Malik swallowed. So what's the plan? Amara looked at him. We split. Malik shook his head immediately. No. You'll take the data drive, she said firmly. There's a safe contact in New Orleans, a journalist who still remembers what integrity looks like. And you, Malik demanded. I draw them away, Amara said. They want me more than they want you. That's not true, Malik said. They want silence from both of us. Amara stepped closer, lowering her voice. Listen to me. This only works if one of us survives. She pressed the data drive into his palm. For the record, she added quietly, the proposal wasn't just strategy. Before Malik could answer, a gunshot echoed down the tunnel. Closer this time. Amara pushed him toward a side passage. Go, now. Malik took a step, then stopped. If I leave, this isn't over. Amara gave a small, steady smile. It was never going to be. Another shot rang out. Shadows moved at the far end of the station. Malik turned and ran, the weight of the truth heavy in his hand and heavier in his chest. Behind him, Amara stood her ground. And as the tunnel swallowed Malik whole, he did not see the figure stepping out from the darkness behind Amara, someone he recognized far too well. Someone who was supposed to be dead. Malik ran until his lungs burned and the echo of gunfire faded into nothing but memory. The narrow passage twisted like a wounded snake, forcing him to duck, climb, and squeeze through gaps barely wide enough for his shoulders. Every step carried one thought louder than the rest. Amara. He burst out of the tunnel into a forgotten service alley behind an abandoned warehouse. Morning light washed over him, soft and ordinary, as if the world had not just tried to erase him again. Malik bent over, hands on his knees, gasping for air. He looked down at his palm. The data drive. Small, silent, powerful enough to destroy nations. A low rumble made him freeze. A black motorcycle rolled slowly into the alley, engine idling. The rider removed his helmet. Malik's blood ran cold. Caleb, he said. The man smiled like an old memory turned sour. Still sharp, Caleb replied. Prison didn't dull you. Caleb had been Malik's mentor years ago, a brilliant systems architect who vanished after exposing corruption in a multinational firm. Everyone said he was dead. You're working with them, Malik said. Caleb shrugged. Working is a strong word. Surviving is better. Malik backed away. Amara saw you. She recognized you. Yes, Caleb said calmly. That was intentional. Fear makes people predictable. Malik's fists clenched. They're going to kill her. Caleb shook his head. No, they need her alive. For now, she's leverage. He stepped closer. You, on the other hand, are optional. Malik's mind raced. Why show yourself to me? Caleb's smile faded slightly. Because I need that drive, and because I don't want you dead, not yet. Sirens wailed in the distance. You have a choice, Caleb continued. Give me the drive, disappear, and live, or keep running until they catch you, and they will. Malik thought of Amara standing alone in the tunnel, of the courtroom, of 20 billion paid without hesitation. No, Malik said. I won't trade truth for safety. Caleb sighed. I hoped you'd say that. Without warning, a shot rang out. The bullet grazed Malik's arm, tearing fabric and skin. Malik bolted, diving through a shattered door into the warehouse. Dust exploded around him as more shots followed. Inside, the warehouse was a maze of shadows and broken machinery. Malik ducked behind a rusted generator, pressing his bleeding arm. Caleb's voice echoed inside. You always were stubborn. Malik spotted a narrow stairwell leading up. He climbed, emerged onto the roof, and ran again. Below, Caleb mounted his bike, circling. Malik leapt to the next building, barely making the gap. Pain screamed through his arm, but he kept moving until he collapsed behind a ventilation unit. His phone vibrated. One message, unknown number. She's alive. Don't come back yet. Malik exhaled shakily. Relief and fear tangled in his chest. Another message followed. If you trust me, meet me tonight. Same bridge, midnight. No name, no explanation. Malik stared at the screen. The bridge where it all began. He looked toward the city skyline, the sun climbing higher, indifferent to his war. Below, Caleb's motorcycle roared away. Malik closed his eyes. The truth had a meeting place. And night was coming fast. Midnight turned the bridge into a long shadow stretched across dark water. Streetlights flickered, some broken, some buzzing softly like tired witnesses. Cars passed occasionally, unaware that history had once brushed this place and was about to do so again. Malik stood beneath the bridge, hidden between concrete pillars marked with old graffiti and rust stains. His arm throbbed where the bullet had grazed him, wrapped now in a tight cloth torn from his shirt. Every sound made his muscles tense. He checked the time. 12:03 a.m. You're late, a familiar voice said from the darkness. Malik turned sharply. Amara stepped into the light. She looked different. Her hair was pulled back, her clothes plain, her face free of makeup. But her eyes were the same, steady, sharp, alive. You're alive, Malik said, the words slipping out before he could stop them. Barely, Amara replied. They wanted me scared, not dead. Caleb made sure of that. Malik stiffened. You know he's alive. I know he's dangerous, Amara said, and I know he's playing both sides. She moved closer, keeping her voice low. You shouldn't have run. You pushed me, Malik said. You chose this. Yes, Amara said, and so did you when you refused to stay silent. For a moment, neither spoke. Water moved slowly beneath the bridge, carrying reflections of light away into the dark. They've split the city into zones, Amara continued. Private security, fake task forces, anyone linked to you is being watched. Malik clenched his jaw. They won't stop. No, Amara agreed, which is why we stop hiding. She reached into her bag and pulled out a second data drive. They think you have everything, she said. They don't know I made copies, different locations, different keys. Malik looked at her sharply. You didn't tell me. I couldn't, Amara said. The fewer people who know, the safer it is. Sirens wailed far away. Malik lowered his voice. Caleb tried to kill me. I know, Amara said. That's his warning. He wants you scared enough to surrender. And you, Malik asked, what do you want? Amara looked at him fully now. I want the truth out in the open, and I want you standing beside me when it happens. Malik studied her face. As what? Amara paused. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her features. As my partner, she said. In public, in private, in everything that follows. Before Malik could answer, headlights flashed above them. Engines slowed. Doors opened. Men moved along the bridge, their footsteps heavy, deliberate. Amara's phone vibrated. She glanced at it, then cursed under her breath. They traced the signal. We have less than a minute. Malik scanned the area. There's nowhere to go. Amara stepped closer, lowering her voice. There is one way. She pressed the ring into his hand again. They will hesitate if they see this, she said. If the story changes from fugitive to fiancé, it complicates their orders. Malik looked at the ring, then at her. You're asking me to trust you again. I'm asking you to choose, Amara said. Disappear alone or stand with me and force the world to look. Flashlights cut through the darkness now. Voices shouted commands. Malik took a breath. Then, slowly, he closed his fingers around the ring. He slipped it onto Amara's hand. At that exact moment, the lights flooded them. Hands where we can see them. Amara raised her chin, her voice calm and clear. You're interrupting an engagement. The men froze. Cameras appeared from nowhere. And somewhere in the shadows, Caleb watched, his smile thin and dangerous, as the story took a turn none of them had planned. The flashlights lowered, but the tension did not. The men on the bridge hesitated. Exactly as Amara had predicted, orders crackled through their earpieces. Cameras from nearby news vans rolled closer, hungry for clarity. Within minutes, the scene shifted from a quiet arrest to a public spectacle. Miss Johnson, one officer said carefully, we need you to come with us. Amara held up her left hand, the ring catching the light. On what grounds? She asked. I'm standing beside my fiancé. If he's under investigation, so am I, and I assure you, my legal team will be very interested in how this is handled. The officer swallowed. He knew her name. Everyone did. Malik felt the weight of the moment settle into his bones. This was no longer about running. This was about standing still and letting the storm hit. Within the hour, the footage was everywhere. Billionaire CONFIRMS engagement, 2 former inmates she freed with $20 billion. Talk shows erupted. Analysts argued. Social media split into loud, angry sides. Some called it love, others called it madness. A few whispered the truth, that this was war dressed as romance. Malik and Amara were escorted, not arrested, to a secured government guest residence. Guards posted at every door, phones monitored, visitors restricted. They're containing us, Malik said as the door shut behind them. Yes, Amara replied. Containment is what they do when they're unsure. Malik paced the room. Caleb was there, he watched everything. I know, Amara said. He wanted to see if we would break. Malik stopped. Why didn't he stop it? Because chaos is useful, Amara said, and because he still thinks he can control the ending. That night, Malik couldn't sleep. His thoughts returned again and again to the ring on Amara's finger, to the way she had stood tall under the lights, to the cost she had already paid. Near dawn, Amara's phone buzzed once. She read the message, her face tightening. They've moved up the timeline. For what? Malik asked. For the hearing, she said. An emergency public inquiry into your case, live broadcast. Malik stared at her. That's suicide, they'll bury me again. Or expose themselves, Amara said, if we play it right. She opened her laptop and turned it toward him. A list of names filled the screen. These are insiders, she said. Engineers, accountants, former security officers, people hurt by the same network. I've been protecting them quietly. Malik's eyes widened. Witnesses. Yes, Amara said, and they're ready to speak, but only if you do first. Malik sat down slowly. They'll tear me apart. They'll try, Amara said, which is why you won't be alone. She reached for his hand, steady and warm. This is the moment the proposal was really for. Before Malik could respond, the television switched on by itself. Breaking news filled the screen. Exclusive. Government source claims Amara Johnson paid $20 billion to silence a key suspect. Malik's stomach dropped. They're turning it, he said. Yes, Amara replied quietly, and they're about to make it personal. As the camera cut to a familiar face giving a statement to the press, Malik's breath caught. Caleb. Alive, confident, smiling. And that, Amara said, her voice hardening, is him choosing his side. The screen froze on Caleb's face, and the battle lines were finally clear. The studio lights burned hot, washing the room in a harsh white glow that left no place to hide. Malik sat behind the long desk, hands folded, spine straight. Across from him sat a panel of officials, legal experts, and one carefully neutral moderator whose smile did not reach his eyes. Behind the glass walls, cameras rolled. Millions watched. Amara sat just off to the side, visible enough to remind the world she was there, but far enough to be treated like an accessory rather than a force. That was intentional. Underestimation was still one of their sharpest weapons. The moderator cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, you were convicted of crimes that nearly crippled national infrastructure. Today, you claim you were framed. Why should the public believe you now? Malik took a breath. He remembered prison walls, the tunnel, the ring slipping onto Amara's finger. Because lies need darkness, he said calmly, and this is light. A ripple moved through the room. He continued. The systems I worked on were already compromised before I ever touched them. I documented it, reported it, and when I refused to stay quiet, I became the distraction. One of the panelists leaned forward. You expect us to believe a single engineer uncovered a global conspiracy? Malik nodded. No, I expect you to believe I wasn't the only one. Amara felt it then, the shift. This was the opening. Malik raised his hand slightly. Before I was arrested, my work was duplicated, sent to multiple independent servers. Some of those records are already in the possession of journalists. The moderator stiffened. That information has not been verified. It will be, Malik said, very soon. In the control room, phones began to buzz. Producers whispered urgently. On social media, documents were already appearing, contracts, emails, transaction trails. Amara's phone vibrated once. They've started releasing it. The panel tried to regain control. Let's address the elephant in the room, one official said sharply. Miss Johnson, why pay $20 billion for this man's release? Was it guilt, or was it silence you were buying? Amara stood before the moderator could stop her. I paid $20 billion, she said clearly, because I could, and because injustice survives when people with resources choose comfort over courage. The room fell quiet. She continued, if I wanted silence, I would have paid far less. Silence is cheap, truth is expensive. A murmur spread through the audience. The moderator tried to cut in, but a producer's voice echoed through his earpiece. We've got a problem. On the large screen behind them, new footage appeared, security recordings from years earlier. Sabotaged substations, timed outages, men in uniforms that didn't belong to any official agency. Names began to scroll. One of them made Malik's chest tighten. Caleb. The room erupted. That footage is fake, a panelist shouted. Amara shook her head slowly. No, it's authenticated, and it's only the beginning. In a private office across the city, Caleb watched the broadcast, his calm finally cracking. He slammed his fist against the desk. They weren't supposed to release that yet, he muttered. A voice from the shadows answered, cold and impatient. You said you had control. Caleb swallowed. I still do. But even as he said it, he knew the truth. Control was slipping. Back in the studio, Malik felt the weight lifting and replacing itself with something heavier, responsibility. The moderator's voice trembled. This inquiry is adjourned until... The feed cut abruptly to black. Emergency graphics replaced the broadcast. Signal interruption, stand by. Gasps filled the room. Amara's eyes narrowed. They're pulling the plug. Malik leaned toward her. What now? Amara met his gaze, steady as ever. Now they stopped pretending. Outside, sirens began to wail. Not police this time, but emergency alerts echoing through the city. And deep underground, where backups lived and secrets slept, the final release was counting down. 10 minutes. Enough time for one last move. From both sides. The city held its breath as emergency alerts pulsed across phones, televisions, and radio stations. The broadcast blackout only made things worse. Silence, in moments like this, felt louder than chaos. Inside the secured studio, officials argued in tight circles. Security teams whispered into radios that no one seemed to be answering. The old rules, who commanded, who obeyed, were breaking down. Amara stood still, eyes on the dark screen where the truth had almost finished speaking. 7 minutes, she said quietly. Malik nodded. They won't stop it. No, Amara replied, but they'll try to control what happens after. Across the city, deep beneath a data center disguised as a water treatment facility, servers hummed steadily. Layers of protection peeled away one by one, exactly as designed. The final release was not dramatic. It was methodical, patient, unstoppable. At exactly midnight, the truth went public. Not as one explosive document, but as thousands of verified files released simultaneously to newsrooms, courts, universities, and independent watchdogs across the world. Contracts, videos, financial trails, internal memos, names connected to dates, dates connected to consequences. Within seconds, the silence shattered. Phones rang uncontrollably. News channels cut into regular programming. Emergency sessions were called in multiple countries. The same names appeared again and again, too many to deny, too detailed to dismiss. In a private office miles away, Caleb watched the alerts flood his screen. His phone vibrated nonstop, missed calls from men who once promised protection. They'll look for someone to blame, the voice behind him said calmly. Caleb didn't turn. They always do. And they'll start with you. Caleb closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he looked tired. I survived by choosing the winning side. The voice replied, colder now. There is no winning side anymore. When authorities arrived, there was no dramatic escape. No gunfire, just quiet footsteps, a door opening, and the weight of years finally catching up. Back at the studio, power returned. The screens flickered back to life, now filled with breaking headlines. Global investigation, LAUNCHED, into energy sabotage network. Multiple ARESDS expected. Wrongful convictions under review. The room went still. An official cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, he said, no longer confident, this panel has no choice but to suspend all prior findings in your case, effective immediately. Malik felt the words settle into him slowly. Free. Not borrowed freedom, not delayed punishment. Real freedom. Amara exhaled for the first time in hours. Outside, crowds gathered, some angry, some hopeful, many confused. But the story had moved beyond control. It belonged to the people now. Days later, Malik stood on the same bridge where everything had begun. Morning sunlight reflected softly on the water below. Traffic moved as usual. Life, stubborn and persistent, continued. Amara stood beside him, the ring still on her finger. Do you regret it? Malik asked. Amara considered the question carefully. 20 billion, she said. No. The danger, Malik clarified. The target on your back. Amara looked at him. Power always comes with danger. I just chose a danger that mattered. Malik nodded. And the proposal? Amara met his eyes. That part was never about strategy. They stood in comfortable silence. The courts would take years to clean up the damage. Some guilty people would escape. Some innocent lives could never be restored. But the system had cracked and light was pouring in. Malik had been erased once. This time, his name was written into history. Not as a criminal, but as proof that truth, when backed by courage and sacrifice, could still win. And somewhere in the world, a young person watched the story unfold and realized something important. That even the most powerful walls could fall. If someone was brave enough to pay the price. If you made it to the end of this story, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more powerful stories like this one. Sharing it with a friend helps these stories reach even more people. Now tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? And one final question to think about. If you had the power and the money to change one injustice in the world, would you risk everything to do it? We'd love to read your thoughts.